guys, welcome back. Today I want to share with you my autumn TBR books that I'm trying to read this fall in the hopes of also helping you get some spooky season recommendations. So I'm going to tell you what's on my current bookshelf that I hope to get to at the top of my list. I'm also going to tell you about spooky books that I read earlier in the year that you might enjoy. And then I'm going to tell you the top of my TBR for after I move. As I mentioned in a previous video, I'm moving on October 1st, so I'm currently holding off on ordering any new books. But after the move, obviously it's going to be a huge book haul. So those are going to be like the part of my TBR that are not yet on my physical bookshelf, but I'm sure will be my top priority once I have the time. Please also give me your own spooky book recommendations because I'm always looking for more. Let's get started. So starting with the things that I have on my bookshelf that I need to read, I'm currently reading The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, and I'm probably going to make a full video review of this book because it is a very interesting one. It takes place in the Victorian era and it has some speculative elements. Specifically, there's this painting of a man named Dorian Gray, and he makes sort of a pact with, I don't know who you would say, the devil maybe, that he himself remains eternally beautiful and youthful, but all of his sins get portrayed on the painting, which becomes grotesque with time. I liked the movie, The Picture of Dorian Gray, so I thought I would try the book as well, and I do enjoy it. I think it's really lushly written. It's rich with philosophical insights on beauty, art, aging. There are some weird parts where Oscar Wilde has some anti-Semitic portrayals of Jews in the book, but I looked it up and I guess like he had Jewish friends. He wasn't like an anti-Semite. He just used anti-Semitic stereotypes in this particular book. So that was weird, but otherwise, I would recommend this book. Then we have The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. This is another Gothic classic from the Victorian era. I love the movie, I love the musical, and I heard that the book describes the Phantom as even darker, less romantic. So I'm very curious about it. It seems like it's going to be more of like even more of an abuser-victim sort of dynamic between the two characters. It's historical, it's gothic, it's dark, so I can't wait to read it. I hope I like it. Books that were written in the Victorian era are always interesting to me because usually it's very flowery language, which I love, but they also had like very different metrics of what makes something a good book back then. So for example, they don't mind telling instead of showing. So it's interesting, like it doesn't bother me really. It's just, I kind of have to go into it putting aside our current modern understanding of what makes a book good. Anyway, I digress. Also on my bookshelf, I have My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. I loved her book Rebecca because it was gothic, it was filled with atmospheric description, it was suspenseful, and I also loved the movie My Cousin Rachel, so I figured this would be another great read for the fall. It's a classic filled with suspense, romance, suspicion, and ultimately an open-ended question. Side note, if you enjoy gothic books set in the Victorian era, you might enjoy my most recent novel, A Song at Dead Man's Cove. This is a dual POV. One of them takes place in 1850 and the other one takes place in 2023. And it has a lot of siren mythology, difficult mother-daughter dynamics. It's also very atmospherically written, so check it out if you haven't already. Now, these are some of the books that I read earlier in the year that I think would be great to add to your spooky season TBR. One of them is The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. Actually, one of you guys recommended it to me because I mentioned I enjoy flowery language and I ended up reading it and I did like it. It's a collection of gothic short stories. It's quite flowery prose. It has a lot of speculative creatures, feminist themes, erotic notes. For example, it has a retelling of the tale Bluebeard's Castle. It's a bit older. I think it's from the 70s, I believe. So again, slightly different metrics of what made fiction good back then, but I think it's sort of a classic to read. Then I also read House of Hunger this summer by Alexis Henderson. This is sort of vampiric, but with a twist. They're not actually vampires. They're just real people who drink blood. It seemed to me like a metaphor of the way elites often consume and cannibalize the less fortunate. It's moderately vivid and decently atmospheric. It has a sapphic plot, and it was kind of short but sweet. I enjoyed it, and I will be trying to read more Alexis Henderson in the future. So I would recommend that one. I did also read, I think last winter, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Do I remember anything whatsoever from this book? No. Did I like it? Also no. Will I ever buy a book by Leigh Bardugo again? Probably not. This is not the first book of hers that I've tried and didn't really enjoy. But would I recommend it? Yeah, depending on your taste, you might enjoy it instead of me. This is a fantastical dark academia book. To me, it felt too long, and there's just something about Bardugo's prose that I can't visualize. I can't focus on it. I couldn't quite pin down what it was, but maybe it's up your alley instead. Now, at the top of my shopping cart after the move, I have The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is because Mexican Gothic by her was the book that made me realize my heart lies with Gothic horror, not with fantasy like I initially thought. And I also loved the Jungian elements in that book. So I'm really excited for this one. This is one of my favorite horror authors who wrote a witchy book, like right up my alley, sign me up. 3 women in 3 different eras encounter danger and witchcraft in an eerie multi-generational horror saga. Then there's also The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. This is another Gothic classic from the 19th century. The movie was spooky, dark, and atmospheric in the perfect October fashion, so I'm hopeful that the short story will also deliver. Clearly, I am trying to get through like the 19th century classics this year. Also, one that I'm really excited for is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson, who wrote House of Hunger that I mentioned earlier. A young woman living in a rigid puritanical society discovers dark powers within herself. It sounds like maybe a mix between Hour of the Witch and Slewfoot. I mean, I haven't read it yet, so this is just kind of what I'm guessing. But either way, loved both of those books, so it kind of sounds right up my alley. And because I really liked House of Hunger and because I love witchlit, this one sounds even better than House of Hunger. Then there is The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling, which is, from what I understand, a medieval fantasy horror about a castle that descends into bacchanalian madness following a siege in which food runs low. I've heard this is like a little bit unhinged, gets a little crazy, so I hope I like it. But I've been definitely trying to get into more medieval horror, so that's the reason why I really want it. Another work of medieval horror fantasy is Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. Like I said, I'm really looking into historical, particularly medieval horror right now, so that's why this one is also at the top of my TBR, and it comes highly recommended. It's been kind of everywhere that I've seen. It's about a disgraced knight in Normandy, from what I understand. I don't know where it's gonna go. I hope I like it. Then also The Exorcism of Fairies by J.L. Vampa is one that has been highly recommended by people. From what I understand, it's a dark academia romance that takes place in Dublin, Ireland, which love that. Love Ireland. Gothic, fae, dark academia, that sounds right up my alley. Then there's also Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna Van Veen, which from what I understand is something to do with vampires. It takes place in the Victorian era. I hear this one's also bloody and unhinged, but I've also really heard good things about it, so again, hopeful that I'll like it. And then lastly, Never Whistle at Night, which is an anthology of scary stories from Indigenous America. I always love unknown creatures and, spooky, mystical legends from different parts of the world, so I'm really excited for this one. And also, its cover is gorgeous. Let me know if you're going to try any of these, and again, let me know if you have any other recommendations. I hope your spooky season is off to a good start, and I'll see you soon.